So good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the summer update. Those of you who are joining for the first time, I'm Richard Saunders. I'm the Senior Product and Design Manager here at Zengenti. I help scope the roadmap for Contensis and the rest of our DXP offering. Just a little bit of a rundown of what we'll be looking at today. We'll be looking at our latest release, Contensis 17, with a variety of demos. I'll give you an overview of Contensis 17.1 and what we'll be working on towards velocity. So let's start with Contensis 17. We'll be focusing the beginning of this webinar on the introduction of a smarter asset workflow. We know that when you're creating entries, it can be frustrating not being able to find and locate what you're after. Fundamentally, assets are searchable by their file name and other properties around it. But to update those properties hasn't been possible unless they were brought over from Contensis Classic. So in the Contensis 17 release, we've made improvements to the upload workflow. So when you're in entries and you're bulk uploading, you can update this metadata on the go, making it easier to locate those images and assets at a later date. So you'll now see when you upload a group of images, the images are given a large preview, and there's been the introduction of this new image properties panel. You can update their titles and descriptions and alt text, and also enrich them with sets of keywords. The same can be said for uploading assets. Assets like PDFs or Word documents also become a lot more searchable when you enrich them with their proper titles, descriptions, and keywords again. We've also given the asset gallery a bit of a refresh, making it easier to quickly find what you want with a set of new filters. So when you look at the asset gallery now, you'll see a new card view. And from the top search bar now, you can filter those images by keywords. This is an aggregated search. So in this example that you're seeing here, you're seeing a set of architecture images, and the other keywords that are now displayed are reflective of all the images that contain the keyword architecture, so you can dig down further. You can also locate images by their orientation now. So whether that's a landscape, portrait, square, or even panoramic, that's now filterable within this view. When images are uploaded to Contensis or where they've been migrated across from Classic, we now introduced a ratio against the image properties, and we've also created a string notation of that, so landscape, portrait, square, and so on. All this information is also available in the delivery API. And you can now filter by the file type within the gallery. In this case, I've got a mixed bunch of photos and logos, and I can filter down to the SVG files, in this case, a bunch of logos from different brands. And you can also filter the gallery by folder path. Now, these folder paths are defined at the content type level. When you set up your image or asset field, you can choose which folders assets should be displayed from. And we use that same information here for you to easily navigate between a set of folders. As I mentioned, search is based on the metadata, and it's never too late to create an update. So whether you haven't done it during upload or you come across an asset that you need to enrich with more information at a later time, you can do that throughout the application. So if you've got the image gallery open and you select an image, you can now update their titles, description, and all the other properties that we saw earlier on. You'll also start to get an insight of their usage. In this case of St. Stephen's Basilica, it's not being used by any entries at the moment. And you can also update the properties once an image has been inserted into the entry itself. So when you hover over the image where the crop previously was, you can now click on information and bring up this panel and update the data. Whilst metadata like title and description are first-class fields on an asset type, we've also introduced a new first-class tagging system within Contensis. This starts off with the keywords tags that you saw on the assets that we were just looking at, but it goes beyond that. You can now create tag groups of different types of categorization or things like departments and so on and so forth. So you go to the tags listing. This is available from the content modeling menu and is all permissioned as per content types and components. And you get a list of every keyword and its associated usage across the system. You can delete and tidy up these tags using our bulk delete feature. Or alternatively, you can replace these tags with another tag that's available in the system. So if you've got 5 images using, for example, the keyword male and man, and you want to replace it with person, we'll update those assets in the background with the person content type before you delete these extra words. So you can bulk delete tags or replace the tags with existing tags. And you can also translate this content in bulk for all the available supported languages in the system. So again, you can select them in the listing, hit the translate button, and you get a translate view showing all the values of all the, showing the labels and the values of all the tags. And then in the right-hand panel, you can update those labels for that particular language. You can cycle through the languages in this list as well and update them all from one screen. As I mentioned, it's not just keywords that we want to be able to support as tags. We want you to be able to create other structured tag sets or taxonomies, including things like categories or countries. And you can see here I'm creating a new tag group called countries, and I've inserted a comma separated list of all the values that I'm interested in that I can easily create. With this tag group in place, it means I can add a tag group to my content types. So in a venue, I might want to specify the country that this venue is located in. So I can add a tag picker and choose the tag group to be displayed. And then an author in the entry can select one of those predefined countries in that list. This makes these really reusable across different content types within your content model for easier reuse. So let's just go and take a look at that in practice and see it in Contensis. So here we are in a Contensis 17 instance, currently in an entry, and this is just a really simple entry. It's 2 tabs, a title, an image field, and a body field, a really simple kind of block. And if I had a primary image now and I go to select an image, you can see that interface that we looked at earlier on. So from the keywords, I can begin to navigate interior architectural shots. I can just navigate to interior, there's nothing there. Or if I, for example, show all images from Budapest, you'll see those displayed. You can also filter these by orientation. I've only got portrait in here at the moment, so if I close that and click on square, there's just one image that is square. There's a whole bunch that are in portrait orientation. So that's the aggregated keywords and orientation. And you can also filter by the file type, SVG, or just simply JPEGs. In the bottom left-hand corner, you'll see those image files, that folder list. And so we can just navigate to a particular folder that we know those images are in and see those displayed. From this same screen now, I can update properties of an image. So if we select this image here, and that's obviously not appropriate alternative text, but we could say an image, no, because that's poor alt text, Norwegian church against the blue sky with the Norwegian flag flying. And I can add, you can see the keywords that are already here. I might want to add Norwegian. And so that keyword can now be added to that image. So as part of this change to the asset gallery, as these fields are updated, we do a patch update in the background. So all of these changes can be flagged with a save effectively as you move around the interface. So there's no need to carry out a save on these. We do it on the fly. From here, if I was to insert this image into the editor, I mentioned that when you hover over these now, you can either crop the image or view the image properties. So this gives us another opportunity to update the data. And from here, you can also go into the crop editor, which has had a slight facelift, a few things moved around. This has full kind of keyboard navigation, so you can do shift and up and down to do 10 pixels cropping at a time and so on and so forth. So that's all been improved. So that's the changes to the asset gallery, to image updating. As an example of seeing the bulk upload, if we were to head over to entries and I was to create a new entry, and let's say I've got a bunch of policies or procedures that I want to upload. If I upload the assets now and select some policies, so let's do this corporate social responsibility, you can see that the panel during the upload is available to ensure you get nice titles and descriptions against your content. This fundamentally makes it easier to search on at a later date. So that's uploads and the asset gallery. Let's now take a look at keywords. So if we go to the content modeling menu and go down to tags, you can see from this list, I'm currently viewing all tags in the system defined by the different tag groups here. So when you upgrade to Contensis 17, you'll automatically get this set of keywords, this keywords tag group. And if you had assets uploaded in Classic and you'd defined metadata against them, like the MD keywords, structured content, then that content will come across as part of the upgrade to 17. From here, you can obviously delete and manage or translate this content, or you can create different groups like this countries list. If I wanted to create another group right now, I can go to add a new tag group, and let's call this colors. And let's just do something simple like red, green, blue, orange, pink, violet. When I click create now, all of those tags are created on the fly. We've got a new tag group called colors, and we've got the various colors that I've defined. By selecting them all and hitting the translate, you'll see the new translate view. Obviously this is in English and I could translate it to French. Something you'll see shortly in a minute is around right to left support. So if we switch this to Arabic now, you'll notice the behavior of the input fields changes, ready for Arabic input for right to left input. So that's also supported within the editor. If we were to just take a look at a content type and see the tag picker, head over to something like the policies and procedures, or a venue, doesn't really matter, just demonstrating it. So we can now apply structured tags to this entry. So maybe we had, if it was HR policies and procedures, we could have a set of categorization for these documents. So you add the tags field, you head down to the tag group, and you can choose the appropriate tag group that you want. Not that colors make sense in this instance, but if we save and publish it and go to create a new entry, you'll see now that the drop down is available with those values pre-populated. And if I was translating this into French, you'd see the French labels that we've translated in the previous screen. So that's a quick look at those features that we've run through. Let's head back over to Keynote and look at some of the other features that are available in Contensis 17. Just going to pause my share. Let me share my whole screen and head into Keynote. Okay, the next feature that we're really excited about, and I'm sure a lot of you are, is that situation that you're working on an entry and your colleague happens to be working on that entry at the same time. They hit the save button only to find out you've only just made changes, and they get that weird, this is not the latest version error. So frustrating when you're working on content in the system. So we've introduced a collaboration view, so you get an understanding of who's currently editing the entry. It prevents those clashes that we talked about, and it allows you to carry on. You can still comment in these views, but editing the content is locked to the individual who's currently editing. So when you open up the entry editor now and another colleague is present, you'll see who's viewing the entry up in the top right-hand corner of the screen. And if you're not the current editor, you'll notice that you'll get this orange bar indicating who's editing the entry, and the fact that all of these fields are now locked from you managing them and updating them. After a set period of time, if people have been away from the computer, you'll go into an inactive state. And if you are the editor who's been inactive for more than 10 minutes, you'll be unlocked and other users will be able to carry on editing the entry. I gave you a very quick highlight within the translate screen that we now fully support right to left support for languages like Arabic, Persian and Urdu. So now when you're in something like an Arabic entry, again, a blog post, you'll see that the split view on the right hand side, all of the fields have been mirrored. Now in Arabic languages or right to left languages, you won't always have mirrored content. Things like URLs, email addresses and telephone numbers do get treated as left to right languages, and all of those fields are supported in the content type builder, and that directionality is applied in these instances. You'll also, we have full support for the Canvas editor, the ability to write that content from right to left and actually see that content flowing more appropriately, whereas previously it was very difficult for people putting Arabic content in left to right, because the way you navigate with both the keyboard and the mouse varies in right to left support. So right to left is completely supported in Arabic, in menus, in your writing, in the shortcuts that are available. We could take a quick look at that. But I'll dig into the next couple of features and we'll come back to the right to left support shortly. One of the other things that we focused on during Contensis 17 was providing a consistent editing experience across Contensis. Previously, you had long text fields, canvas editors, rich text fields, markdown editors, all of which worked in different places at different times. Canvas is now supported everywhere. You can now use them in components, so you can keep a tighter control of content within your component areas. So for example, if you've created an accordion or card description and you just want people to put text in, or maybe links but no images or tables, you can now do that. So here we've got a nested component, and the answer field for this accordion is now a canvas, only allowing paragraphs, lists, links, and some basic styling. So when you see that component now, that component is fully using the canvas editor, giving you a consistent editing experience, as well as being able to really control what's allowed within that field. That's reflected here in the toolbar. You're not seeing things like underline or adding variables or strike through and so on and so forth. We've also updated composers, so you don't have to include rich text fields and you can use canvas fields instead. Again, giving you that flexibility and controllability on what's allowed within a field. So here in a landing page that might be made up of blocks of text and imagery and different components, that can now be focused as a canvas field. In this instance, the page title is going to be the H1 in your rendered site, so we only allow heading 2 and above. We've also improved when linking content within the canvas. We had situations where people wanted email addresses to be formatted correctly and included a mail to reference at the beginning of an email link, and also the ability to create telephone links within the Canvas editor. Now, when you insert an email address into the link modal, we now detect it as an email address, and in the background, we'll put the mail to reference into the email address. We do the same for telephone numbers. So we support a wide range of telephone number formats, and they're automatically updated to include tel before them. This also occurs when you paste content into the canvas. We auto-detect email addresses and telephone numbers. And if you're writing in the canvas and you enter an email address, we'll auto-format it for you as well. We've also included a variety of new slash commands. So if you're fed up of typing /heading 1 in full, you can now type /H1, H2, H3. If you want to use image, /img. Or if you're a bit of a Notion nerd like me and you want to use a panel, you can now call it a call out rather than a panel, and it will insert a panel for you. So there's lots more being added in terms of keyboard shortcuts within the Canvas editor, and they're all documented on contensis.com. One of the final areas in Contensis 17 is the ability to use private registries within blocks. We've had lots of customers come to us and say they want to store potentially private data within a block and didn't want that publicly available. So you can now set up credentials for Azure and Docker Hub and GitHub within your project settings and have these blocks running from these private registries. So just head over to settings, you'll see a new blocks option, and you can add a variety of registries here. Depending on the registry that you're using, will require different authentication methods, and the inline documentation will tell you what's required. And we've also made updates to the Contensis CLI, as we've been doing with each release as new features get added. And in this release, we've added support for the ability to create and manage tags and tag groups And Neil's done a great job again of documenting all the different scenarios that you might want to use, so you can dig in to managing tags in this way. So I'm going to pause there. We're going to have a quick look into the CMS and see some of these things in action. So why this is happening. Okay, just going to show my Firefox again. Okay, so here we are in Firefox. We'll firstly touch on the right to left support within the entry editor, and then take a look at sort of some of the canvas improvements. So here's the blog post that we were looking at in the demo. If we click on show languages and go to this Arabic version, you can now see that when we're in this Arabic entry, as we navigate across, keyboard navigation has been updated within the canvas to support these up and down commands of where the cursor should be placed in those different situations. If I use the / command now, you'll notice that we've mirrored the behavior of the context menu as well. So that's some right to left support. As you can see, I'm not used to writing right to left, so I can't be writing more in there. But it's also supported if we edit this content type. If I was to add a URL field, a telephone number field, and an email address, and if we go back into that entry, that entry now, you'll see here we've got right to left support for each of these fields. But if I enter a URL, you'll notice it's now displayed left to right because it's an international standard. The same with a telephone number. So we detect all that behavior within Arabic or right to left languages. As for the canvas editor and the changes that we've made there, let's take a look at a common entry. So something like an FAQ. You can see now within this FAQ, we haven't got to use the rich text editor anymore, and both the questions and the answers, well, the answers are now using Canvas. So with the restrictions that are in place, I can restrict this to kind of lead paragraphs, and I can narrow that down even further. So if I edit the content type, edit the component, this is a nested component that we want to look at the item. So let's look at that. You can see here now that we can further control what's allowed within this field. So if we don't want lead paragraphs and we don't want numbered and we just want bullets, that's now completely possible, ensuring that we're getting the content inputted by our authors that we want. So now when I do a / command, we don't see numbered lists anymore or lead paragraphs. So much more control within this editor area, which then aligns with your front-end components. So you're not going to get sort of layout issues or styling issues because you can really control it. So that's Canvas in a component. The same can be said for a composer. So here's a landing page. I've just got a body composer here. And at the moment, I've just got a text field and an image. So I can insert an image field, and then I can put a text field. And this is now a canvas as well. So again, I've controlled the options that are available in the editor. So now your developers on the front end can just deal with managing canvas content rather than a mixture of other editor types. And your authors can have a consistent editing experience. just drop over just to see those settings for blocks. The settings menu, head over to blocks, and you can now set up private registries. So for Azure, username and personal access token, Docker Hub, and GitHub. You can actually run all of these alongside each other. So if for some reason you have a team using Docker Hub and one using GitHub for different blocks, you can run multiple registries alongside each other. So that's the update for Contensis 17. And let's head over to 17.1 and see what else is coming. Said we've added support for tags and tag groups, and here we are in 17.1. So 17.1 is coming soon. It will be here in the next month, so probably after the summer break, we'll look to release Content 17.1. And the big focus of 17.1 is around personalisation, the ability to create tailored experiences for your website and deliver content that relates to those audiences. And this feature will be a paid feature. There will be 3 plans available: Starter, Plus, and Enterprise plans. And each of those plans will reflect the different options that you'll get available. And the pricing is going to be followed shortly. But there's a lot to delivering a personalized experience. So I want to spend a little bit of time just giving you an overview of the foundations of personalization before showing you what it can look like in Contensis. So there are 6 fundamental foundations to personalization. And whilst it seems a lot, it'll all become clearer in the end. So what are they? Firstly, in this top layer, we have signals and custom attributes. Then signals and custom attributes enable us to build audiences, and audiences can then be applied to content to create personalized content for those particular audiences. And we have features within Contensis called manifest and part of the delivery process that take all those signals, custom attributes and audiences to deliver that personalized experience. So let's go into each one of those to get a better understanding of what we're looking at. So the first element is signals. And this is all about capturing user behavior and understanding the context of a visitor coming to your site. And we want to be able to name and create sets of signals that will fundamentally become the definition for our audiences. So we can look at things like pages that they viewed, maybe based on the full URL or part of the URL. What location are they coming from? What browser or device are they using? How long have they been visiting in this session? How many sessions have they had? Or who's referred them to our site? All of these are signals. They are characteristics or traits that make up the interaction of a visitor to your website. Secondly, we have custom attributes. Now, we know that we can't define every type of signal out of the box. You'll have things that are pertinent to your organization or to your application that make sense to use with personalization. So we've created custom attributes so you can define those data points. You might have different types of user on your site. You might have residential or business or tourist. You might be an e-commerce store and want to display different products based on the visitor's local temperature. So if it's cold, show them a load of coats. If it's hot, show them pairs of shorts or summer wear. You might run a membership site and want to show different content for different members. And you might have different interest areas as well. So that's custom attributes, things that you already have about your users within your application that you then want to personalize that content on. So briefly mentioned, audiences group your different visitors based on the behaviors or attributes defined in the signals or custom attributes. They all come together to enable you to drive targeted content delivery. And that targeted content delivery comes from the entry editor. You want to be able to allow your authors to tag content to particular audiences. So that might be an entire entry, like a blog post. Who is this blog post aimed at? Is it aimed at developers? Is it aimed at content authors? Or you might have individual components on a landing page, like a hero banner. You might want to display different hero banners depending on the audience that are visiting. So if you've got an art student who's about to join the university and they've been visiting the art section, you might want to show them an Arts Open Day banner. Whereas you might just want a welcome to our university as the default banner on the homepage. All of that is around creating variations of your content that are tightly associated to audiences. This all comes together on the front end using what we call a manifest. Basically, a manifest is a file with all the signals and audiences that your site will need in order to personalize. But this is a controlled file that can go out to your site. Any changes that go along that happen in personalization, so whether you create new signals or new audiences, you control when those changes go out through a deployment. And this is where site owners can also view changes before publishing any updates. Once the manifest file is published on the front end, it's combined with available developer packages that we've created in order for you to build components in your site that deliver that personalized content. So if it's a news or a blog or an events listing that updates promoted content based on the audience people are in, you'll need to update your listing code to look out for personalization. And the same can be said for like the hero banner example that I gave earlier. The hero banner will need to know what the default personalization is and what the different variants for the different audiences to display those. So we've created out of the box packages for JavaScript and a React package that works with Contensis React Base to get you up and running. So I recognize that was a lot to take in. So let's take a step back and just walk through some of the screens that you'll use in personalization to deliver these experiences. So as I mentioned, you'll use signals and custom attributes to help you tailor content. It lists all the different characteristics of their site visit. So we might create a signal called international visitors. And we may say an international visitor is anybody who's visiting our site outside of the UK. So we can create a signal that reflects that. As we see in this example, we've got a location attribute in the rules at the bottom of this screen that says when the location country is not equal to the United Kingdom, they are classified as an international visitor. A custom attribute, those individual data points for your app or for your organization, might be, I want to understand what the local temperature is of the site visitor. You'll have code running on your site that might call off to a local API to find out what the temperature is for your given location. And you can use that data or the value of that data to be personalized. So we've got signals we've got custom attributes. Then we need to be able to target the right people. So we use audiences to show the most relevant content to each visitor. And to do that, we have a audience screen where you can create and define audiences based on a set of rules, based on a set of signals. So expanding on that international visitors signal that we saw previously, a prospective international students audience may be somebody who fits into the signal of international visitors, but also may fit into the signal of undergraduate courses. So they've navigated and browsed pages within the undergraduate course area of the site. Combining these two rules together, you can see here with the and, when all of these conditions have matched, those visitors are effectively people who are outside of the UK and are likely to be prospective international students. So how do we show prospective international students the right content? Well, we use an audience picker in our entries so that when somebody comes to visit that area of the site, we can show the right content variant to the specific audience. So here we've got a blog content type. In a really simple example, I've added an audience picker that becomes available. And when somebody creates a blog now, they can choose the relevant audience to show that customer. So if we went to the blog's listing and it was a developer coming multiple times to the site, we could start to promote developer-related blog posts to the top of the blog. Here's an example of a hero banner. So this is the variant section of a hero banner. So the default of the component would have a title, description, and image. But within this variant section, we can now choose specific content to be displayed to the types of visitors coming to the site. So again, if you've got prospective international students, you might suggest an open day or an opportunity to have a call with a lecturer. Whatever it might be, you can now begin to promote within that component personalized content. So what happens on the front end? Well, as we touched on, we need a manifest file. So that tells us all about the configuration of our personalization, combined with a personalization package to handle all of that audience matching and content delivery in the browser. So for the site owner, you can get an overview of what's currently contained in the manifest, all the changes that have recently taken place, the audiences and signals that have been created and updated. And then you can look to publish those changes when you're ready. If there is a published version of a manifest, you can also compare the existing manifest, the published one, with the latest changes. And we've included a diff view so you can actually see the content that's changed. So in this example, when somebody visits from outside the UK more than once, so in this case 3 times, they're classified as international visitors. So this manifest file, combined with some packages we've created for your development teams or our professional services teams, you can use the personalization React package or the JavaScript package, along with its relevant documentation, which again, Neil's done a fantastic job on communicating all that needs to be done with examples like this lead text example. You can quickly create front-end components that use our personalization logic and display the relevant content to users. And we do all this in a privacy-conscious way. This is all session-based personalization. There's no cross-site tracking or user data actually stored in Contensis. It's all held in local storage and local session storage, ensuring the data stays on the user's device. This is really important with GDPR and the number of people today not wanting their data to be misused. So, with all that said, you've created your signals, you've created your audiences, you've published your manifest file, you've curated your content that's defined a particular audience, you've got your front-end components all set up, and you now need to test that this is all working. So that's where the personalization preview comes in. You can now preview your content through the preview toolbar. You can switch on audiences and see the effect that switching on an audience has on your content. So in this instance, I've put a highly engaged arts student audience, and it's updated the banner image. The banner's been updated, and this could have had the text change. In this instance, it's just had the image changed in the background. Or I can toggle audiences on and off. So if I want to see what the homepage looks like to 2 or 3 different audiences, I can see that and toggle on and off the different views. And we've also made a set of developer tools available so you can preview the latest changes before publishing a manifest file and also clearing out local storage and session data. So that's personalization. In the next month, when we look to release 17.1, we'll run another webinar where we'll go into more detail with some real life examples showing you how all this comes together. So that's personalization in 17.1. And we've got a whistle stop tour on what's coming next before I'll take some questions. So we know how important it is and frustrating it can be when you don't necessarily know why something's changed or what's actually happened within a content type or a component as you work on with a broader team. We've added in 17.1 the activity stream, so you can see all the changes and saves that have gone on in a content type, a component, or a form. And we've also surfaced usage data, so you get a better understanding of how your content model fits together and how content types are linked. And we've also offered the ability now to compare versions of a content type or a component. So you can see line by line in the JSON, actually what has a developer changed, what has a colleague updated, and you can see that now within the version history of a content type and a component. So those are 2 smaller kind of improvements, probably mostly for developers in those screens. So it brings together a nice release of 17.1 focusing on personalization. We'll do a whistle stop tour of what's actually going on at the moment with the team. Heading towards velocity, we'll be introducing content reviews by November, and the ability to keep content fresh with both scheduled reviews and ad hoc reviews. This will come through the form of updating a content type to set a schedule and the review window period that a piece of content has to be reviewed by. That sits alongside the ability to assign different reviewers to content and seeing all the content due for review within the entries listing screen, so you can manage the content and update and review and check that it's all up to date and valid. We also noticed, well, not noticed, we've talked with many teams and organizations and recognize that setting permissions on site view and entries can be quite difficult. And so we're planning to introduce a concept called teams that allows you to start focusing on organizational units within your business to shape those permissions more easily. And so you'll have a consistent view of content, whether you're in the entries listing screen all within site view. So by the time this gets introduced, you'll no longer have that situation where you can see every department's courses and approving every department's course content, but you'll actually be able to focus just on your department's content, your department's approvers, and so on. So that'll be coming by Velocity. And we're also going to be looking to introduce page analytics into entries powered by Insightful. So surfacing analytic data again, which is privacy free, no cookies involved, because we host your site and your visitors come through our load balancers. We understand who's coming to your site, and we'll start surfacing that data within Contensis. But also be bringing overall asset management for your organization, a centralized way of managing all those assets in a single place, creating your structures and taxonomies that are relevant, and updating things in batch and in bulk would all come through during Velocity. And alongside that, we'll be doing a load of work around AI. We've been working on some AI assist features that analyze content and give you feedback on how you can look to change or update your content to improve it. We've been looking at brand voice and ways of analyzing your existing content in order to create writing methods that are in your organizational tone, alongside the work that we've been doing in the Canvas editor with textual transformations. So we've got running in the UI at the moment custom prompts within the Canvas editor and within fields on a content type, and you'll see more of that during Velocity. So if you're not signed up for Velocity, I'll give you a couple of minutes to, or 30-40 seconds to take a scan of the QR code and get yourself registered. Otherwise, we'll put a link out on Slack, or head over to contensis.com, head over to the community section and get yourself registered for Velocity. So that's a bit of a jam-packed update today, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Perfect. Thanks, Rich. Question-wise, let's have a look. So there's been a few questions. One from David Watts. What's easier, Rich? Do you want me to read them, or do you want to?
I've got them
read
open.
them out?
When you create tag groups with the comma separated list, does it create individual tag entries rather than act as a nice drop down? Yeah, David, they are effectively a type of entry that are just a tag. It's just the string of the value and the label that is created. So they're like a mini entry, but they're not surfaced in the entries listing screen. They're only ever surfaced inside the tags listing screen. Chris Lockwood, we currently run in version 17.0148, but we cannot see the image gallery. Do we need to update it again? No, the image gallery is only available within an entry, Chris. So there's no centralized digital asset management of seeing all the assets across your whole CMS will come later this year. So the work that we've taken around tags and tag management and separating some of that asset information from Classic is the first stage. So when you go into entries and select an image or select an asset from an asset field, that's when you'll see that version of the gallery with the new filters. So no need to update it. It's just you might be looking for it in the wrong place. Graham Palmer, would we be able to overwrite the tell if we wanted the number to open as a text SMS, or could this cause a clash? Wasn't aware of that format. At the moment, if you were to type SMS : and type a telephone number, I think it would probably strip it out. I'd have to check, Graham. That's something I can I can look at after the call. What access roles are these setup, etc., going to need? Are they sysadmin or can we delegate? Ian, would you be able to reference what access roles you're referring to? You probably dropped it in the message as I was talking about it. Oh, the audience element. Yeah, so the audience element in an entry can be specified by the entry author, so they can choose one. Obviously, with field level permissions, you could prevent that. If you're talking about the creation of audiences, signals, manifest, those are all roles supported in the roles builder, so you can permission each of those screen areas independently. So hopefully that answers your question. Really looking forward to the time it'll take to get 10 homepage banner variations signed off. Yeah, David, it just adds another layer of complexity to that approval workflow. Robert Fowles, but will there be socks?
Always socks.
There's always socks.
If you definitely can, Rob, you can have a pair of socks.
Socks. Simon Wright, would you recommend having a canvas as the main container for a page or a composer containing a canvas and other elements? Is there anything a composer can do that a canvas can't? Simon, it's an age-old question that comes up. Think of Canvas as for predominantly text-based long-form content. Think of a composer as a way of the building blocks of a landing page. I wouldn't want to create a landing page just from a canvas field. You don't have the same ordering and structure that you do within a canvas, within a composer. So yeah, think of composers as creating building blocks of a landing page or a marketing page, and think of a canvas as creating long form content that you might include a component like an accordion in the middle of, or you might include an advertising banner in the middle of. But the primary focus of Canvas is producing long form textual content. Drew's highlighted a really good point about the permissioning in a composer. You can actually control within a composer which users can actually add or edit particular fields within the composer as well. So that came out in 16.1 with granular permissions. So yeah, that might be another reason to use a composer over a canvas for a particular page. If it was a generic content page, like a terms and conditions page or privacy policy or generic content page, you'd probably get away with just a canvas, to be honest. So where the majority of the content on the page is large volumes of text, use a canvas. Cool.